I'm sure you've heard about or seen those kids that just excel. You know the ones. They seem to do well in school. They have lots of really healthy friendships and relationships, and they're doing things for their community. They're serving other people, and they just exude this leadership, this amazing kind of spirit in them. And you kind of watch and you think, how come some kids can be that and other kids are, whatever, doing drugs or running away from home, or, what is the difference? And that has been something that has been on my heart for a long time, is to just, what makes these kids tick? What causes one kid to go a certain way and another kid to go a different way? And so I've been reading books ever since my kids were small. I've been reading books about this and just kind of asking questions. And I really wanted to dig into that stuff on this podcast, because I believe that when we actually, as parents, as community members, as, aunts and uncles, whoever, grandparents, we have the ability to help these kids, to shape them into being a leader or not, right? So our example is very, very huge. And so we're going to dig into that, and we're going to dig into that as to how you can actually, what kind of steps you can take and how you can actually make that be a reality for your kids or your grandkids. So grab a pen and paper and let's dig in. Do you feel that your kids are growing up so fast and you don't have time to be the parent you dreamed of being? Are you sick of the heartache you feel every time you have to leave them to go earn a living? Does debt and money stress keep you from being totally present with your family? Welcome to Daily Paid Blessings, the Parenting with a Passive Income podcast. We are Melanie and Lou Borbo, small town parents with a now empty nest, and we realized too late how fast our kids grew up and how little time we actually had with them. On this podcast, we are going to show you how to buy back your time with passive daily pay so that you can strengthen the family foundation and help your kids and your grandkids become powerful change agents. If you are ready to ditch the 9-to-5 grind, make more memories, and parent with a purpose, grab your picnic lunch and a blanket and let's dig in. Oh, and by the way, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with other parents who also want to know how to parent on purpose. Hey friend, do you have a desire to see your child or children reach their full potential, be all that they were created to be? Step into that leadership role, step into that community service role. But either time or money has always been an obstacle for you. Either you have to work all day, every day, and you don't have time to devote to the kids, or your money is super tight and tied up in a million directions and you don't have anything extra to help the kids in that direction either. If that's the case for you, then you will be super, super blessed by a 2-hour workday where you can make passive daily pay. So that means in 2 hours, you can start to make money, and therefore the rest of the hours in the day, you can pour into your family, you can pour into your marriage, you can pour into your community, your church, wherever it is that you would want to pour into, and really start to make that impact. So can you imagine how that would feel? Right? Just think about how that would feel. And when you're ready, there is, in the show notes, there is a link that will take you to the proven blueprint that people are using. There's 27,000 people in our community that are seeing success with this blueprint. And so it works. It is proven over and over again. And you can find that description in the show notes. And also right now, as we speak, this is, as at the time of the recording, there's about to be, on July 9th, which is next week, there's going to be a 90-day sprint. So this is a training every single day for 90 days to help you get 30K in 90 days. So if this is something that you are excited about, then I wouldn't wait. I would jump in and get yourself situated, get things set up so that you're ready to run on the 9th of July. If you're listening to this after the 9th, you can jump in at any time, and those videos are all there. You could just, catch up. So check out the notes or the link in the show notes, and I will see you inside of that community. All right. God bless. Welcome back. I was just reading, as I sat down to start to prepare for this podcast, there was a little book underneath some other books on my bookshelf, and it said, "Honor begins at home." Like that was like the thing that was written on the bottom of the little book. And I pulled it out because I'm like, what is that? Honor begins at home. And this is actually a little tiny book that I got quite a few years ago now. And it's a call to courageous living. And I wanted to read something out of this little book for you because I just think it just really lit me up. Like it really lit me on fire. So I'm hoping that it'll have the same effect on you. But it says, "We need men to man up. It's time to call men to a higher level of responsibility. We need men with the hearts of a warrior. Men who will run to catch up with the flag Christ carries ahead of us. Men who won't turn back. We need men who stand up and take responsibility for their role as men. We need a new generation of men who don't look to the corporate office as a measure of their success. Rather, look into the lives of their wives and children. We desperately need men who find their significance in faith, family, and hard work." Isn't that... I don't know about you, friend, but that just... when I read that, I was like, oh, yes, we need that. That is such a huge need in our world right now, right? We need men to stand up to be men, but we also need women to stand up to be who they were created to be, right? Our society is so messed up and twisted. We have so many broken homes and single mom families and like all of this stuff happening. And I really think that it is taking a major toll, on our young people because they don't actually have a solid foundation a lot of times. They don't know who to turn to. They don't know maybe who to trust, in so many instances. And I think that's what we're going to dig in here today is what can we do? Because like I said in the beginning of this podcast, I believe that we each have the opportunity to make an impact in someone's life, in a young person's life, whether we have kids or not, whether we have grandkids or not. I believe that it is our duty to take an interest in children, in young people, and truly help them to excel, truly help them to understand what it's like to be, strong men and strong women and healthy, strong men and women. So I've got Lou here today.
Hi there.
And we are going to talk about, there's three tips that I want to kind of dig in today about how we can actually, be there for our kids. And the first one is to be your child's best advocate. So basically to me, that means, when we feel good, when we feel good, we do good, generally, for the most part, right? And so, Lou, can you talk to us for a minute? Go back to your childhood. Do you feel like did you feel like you had an advocate, someone that was looking out for you, someone that was affirming you, someone that was encouraging you? And it doesn't necessarily have to be parents. It can just be someone who made a difference in your life, someone that made you believe something about yourself that you might not have otherwise believed.
Well, that's a great question. I was number 7 out of 8 kids. And being the bottom of the heap, you might say, I was looked after by some of my older siblings because my parents were busy. My mom was busy just looking after the household. My dad was just trying to make an income for us. So I was looked over by some of my older siblings. And that also played a role in my upbringing and what I should be, or I should say how I should act as a responsible adult as I got older, and in a way they were mentoring me to be successful and right, but yeah, it's and I can remember as a small child things that my mother said to me that left a fairly big impact on me as well. That weren't always positive. So things that we say can either lift up or put down people around us.
Absolutely, that is so true. I had a teacher when I was in about grade 3 or 4, and she wasn't a very nice lady. She was, or her and I just never got along. I don't know what the case was, but she told me that I should never ever sing ever. Right. And you know what? From that point on, I never did until I got actually into my church where I go now, and there was a couple there that kept saying, "Mel, come sing with us, come sing with us." And I finally got my voice back, and I finally thought it was okay, right? Because I had been told that that was bad and I should never do it. So I totally agree with you, Lou, that, about that we can lift or we can tear down. And I believe, and I know you too believe, that we should always work towards lifting, affirming, encouraging, right?
For sure. That's definitely important.
Yes. I was reading in this book called Principle-Centered Leadership by Stephen Covey. And he said in there, I've always believed that how people feel about themselves inside is the key to using their talents and releasing their potential. And how they feel about themselves is largely a function of how they are seen and treated by others, particularly their parents. And I just thought, as I read that, I'm like, it is, that's just what Lou and I were talking about. It's so important that we speak life over our kids. Instead of telling them how worthless or useless or stupid they are, we need to, if we get mad, we need to take a break, just take a breather and wait till we're a little bit calmer, and then say, okay, like, I understand that didn't go good, or that wasn't exactly how that should have went, but how can we fix it? How can we change it?
Because once you say those words, they're hard to get back.
That's right. They don't get erased easily. In fact, I heard it said somewhere that if someone physically abuses someone, those bruises can heal. But if they verbally abuse someone, sometimes those wounds never heal. They just keep getting played over in our heads over and over and over again.
But like you said, the words we say can lift up or bring down. Like not saying the right words too, or not saying enough of the affirming words can also be a detriment to our kids too.
Absolutely.
Like my situation, like I said, my parents were both very busy, and either it be the custom that we're in, I never heard my parents say they loved me or affirmed things like that towards me. So I never thought about it until I was in my adult years that how much of an impact that had on me as my confidence and my self-worth, right?
Absolutely. And I'm just the opposite. My mom we had no money, but my mom, I knew every single day, all day long, 100 times to Sunday, my mom loved me. And she would tell me, like, to this day, we don't get off the phone without saying, okay, goodbye, love you, goodbye, love you. We don't leave without hugs and goodbyes and love yous.
That's awesome.
And that has just been, that was my foundation. It's like, I didn't have a great relationship with my father or my stepfather. Like, I never knew my real dad, and I didn't know my stepdad wasn't a very nice man either. So there was that component, but yet I always had that solid foundation that I knew that my mom loved me without a doubt. There was nothing that I could do to make my mom not love me.
So by saying that, we can break the chains that are generational faults within our characters, and we can break those chains and be that supportive parent and say, I love you, and you're doing awesome, or maybe not, try not to do it this way, and just being positive in your responses with your kids.
Yes.
By being a parent.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something else that I believe is lacking in the society today, is that so many parents want to be their children's best friend. And we need more parents. We need more people that are going to say, no, actually, that is not the way we do this in this family. And if you're going to be mad at me, that's okay, but these are the boundaries. This is what has to happen for our family to function properly, and that is outside of the boundaries. Yes. And I think that, like I used to tell my kids this all the time, and if you ever ask my kids or talk to my kids, they would probably vouch that I would say, I'm not meant to be your best friend right now. When you're older and you've moved out and you're your own person and you're doing your own thing, absolutely, I want to be your best friend. But right now, I am called to be your parent. And that means that's not going to work. Right? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that in order to be an advocate, a strong, powerful advocate for our children, there's a couple things. We have to affirm them. Yes, we have to speak positive. We have to speak life over them. Absolutely. But we also have to know that it's okay to set healthy boundaries for these kids, right? They don't get to just have, they don't get to have whatever they want or do whatever they want. If it's, going to damage other family members or family time so being an advocate is both, is setting boundaries and yet being loving and affirming. Would you agree?
I agree. And also showing how to show grace as well at the right time.
Yes, absolutely.
As hard as it is at times to show grace, they also need to see our weakness and show that we are not infallible, but we also make mistakes too.
Absolutely.
And, to show grace in that situation.
Yeah, I love that. And what does that mean to show grace? It just means that if someone makes a mistake or someone does something, that isn't acceptable, it's not freaking out and yelling at them and screaming at them or hitting them. And it's saying, okay, look, I understand that you made a mistake and we still love you. We'll always love you. And this is how we're going to go about it the next time. Right?
Or these are the consequences.
And that's right. These are the consequences.
I show them that this is still a consequence of our choices, but you can do it in a loving way. Absolutely.
I love that, honey. That's so good. It's because I believe that there is consequences for every action we take in our life, whether good or bad. And as an advocate for these children, it's showing them that, hey, there is a consequence. Doesn't mean I don't love you, but there has to be a consequence because that's the only way we learn. Mm-hmm. If there's no consequence for anything that we do, good or bad, then we just think, well, who cares, right?
Spoiled child.
Yep, that's right. And then spoiled children become spoiled adults. And then we have more spoiled children because they spoil their children. It's just a spiral. Everything spirals downward and everything starts in the family unit. And that is our biggest passion, to help families be strengthened and be stronger because of the time that they have with them and now the money that they have to invest in things for their kids. So that brings us to the next point. The next point that we want to touch on is encouraging our children, or any children that we have contact with, to have their own interests, right? To not just necessarily follow the pack, but to stand out and to stand on the strengths and the qualities that they have been given. Yeah. And that might be different than their peers, and it might be different than ours even.
Exactly.
Right? So what would you say about that?
Well, we should, like you say, we should encourage our kids to be individuals and not to follow the masses, and that has shown to lead people into bad directions and getting into the wrong crowd at times. So by giving them the right values at home as a family, hopefully when they're older, they will make the right decisions.
That's right. And okay, so let's say we see in our child or, our grandchild, whatever, whoever we're taking an interest in, we see that they have a really strong interest or strength in a certain area. Let's say, it's music, or it's reading, or it's something. All of a sudden we're starting to pay attention. Hey, look at this. That kid has a really, a beautiful gift in that area.
Yes.
We should try to encourage that to the best of our ability, right?
That's right.
And what does that look like? How, what would that look like? Would that be a music lesson? Would that be what? What do you think that could be?
Well, I know with my son Seth, we always encourage him to do and learn other things of interest. And we got him into piano lessons, and he took 4 years of piano and enjoyed playing piano, and then he had other interests of guitar and clarinet and other instruments. So again, broadening your horizons as to what's out there.
Absolutely. And I have a little bit of a sad story because, like we mentioned in our last episode, Lou and I have blended our families together when our kids were all teenagers. So I missed that time with Seth when he was little. But what I see in Seth now, this isn't the sad story, by the way, but I do have a sad story. But what I see in Seth now is I see a really confident young man. He is able to speak in front of people, adults. He took off all on his own and went off to Vancouver to go to school. He is really confident, and he is sure that he can succeed at whatever he whatever direction he kind of goes in. And I think that is really beautiful because the sad story is that I see a lot of young people in my line of work. Another line of work is that I see a lot of young people that have never had the opportunity to go after certain interests, and they've never had someone be their advocate. And what I see in these young people is that they have no confidence, they have no drive, they have no motivation to do anything because they've never been shown or told that they can. In fact, they've been, beaten down and told, spoken horrible things in their lives and over them. And now they, as young teenagers who should be super excited about life, are scared and afraid to move forward and don't actually even want to do simple little things because it's easier to just go deep into your phone and stay there. And that to me is that's a sad story. So you can see the effects of a young person that was lifted up and encouraged where he's at today, and you can see the effects of those that are not and where they are today. And there's such a contrast in my world when I'm looking at it. It's crazy. And you know what? When my kids were small, I didn't have the money. Like I wanted so badly to put them in music lessons and do all the things, and they'd all pick the instrument they wanted to do, and I'd found someone who was going to teach the lesson and all these things. And then when it came down to it, I didn't have the money to put these kids into all these things because at that point I was a single mom. And so you see, again, we need time. We need time to invest in them, to take them to these things and help them learn these things. But we also need the money to pay for that stuff. Right. And the next one, again, is needs time and money, but I still think it's vitally, vitally important. And that is to create an enjoyable family culture. So if our family time is more fun, is more affirming, is more satisfactory, that gives the kids more satisfaction than their peer group, what do you think is going to happen?
They're going to blossom.
They're going to blossom, and they're not going to need their peers as much. Yes. They're going to be like, and I'm not saying that they won't need their peers, because we all need friends and we all want to find our place within that group as well. But when you have a really strong home life, you get to do fun things, you get to go on trips, you get to have, fun times with your family.
And make great memories.
Yes, and make great memories. All of a sudden now it's like, I hate being at home. I'm so bored at home. I got nothing to do. I got to go find some friends. And even if those friends are maybe not who you would choose for your kids to hang out with, and then they get themselves into trouble, like we've all seen that happen. And I'm sure we could all attest, even as adults, that has happened to us even. You get bored, or you get, you have a fight with your mom or your dad or somebody or something, and then you go out and you're in the wrong headspace and you get yourself into trouble in one way or another. I can totally speak to that. I know that for sure that has happened to me. And so if we could create, you too. So if we could create this family culture, this beautiful place to be, we're gonna help our kids to want to be there. So what are some things that we could, you can tell them, how do you create this family culture? What are some things that you would think of, honey?
Family nights, are one of them. Family trips, for sure. That's getting into their space, their lives, and just seeing what makes them happy, and right, and just exploring nature and all it has to offer is something that you and I both really enjoy.
Yes.
It allows us to look at life and then see what's important.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Trips are, I didn't have a lot of money when they were growing up and they were starting to be young teenagers, right? But I somehow managed to pay for trips because I wouldn't buy them a bunch of Christmas presents. That was one thing I decided early on, is that I wasn't going to spend a lot of money at Christmas or birthdays. I wanted to save that money and I wanted to take them on a trip. And I did. We went to Disneyland, we went to Disney World, we went skiing, we went to Vancouver Island one time. So we did these things, and to this day, this is years and years and years ago, because my kids are all big now, my kids will still talk about those trips. If you bring it up, they'll still rattle off for half an hour about, do you remember that? Do you remember that? And that to me, it just warms my heart, because they never would have remembered what I bought them that Christmas. Like I just bought them something. They're never going to remember that, but they're going to remember the times we did the things. And so I think that is a huge one for family building, family relationships, is to just go on trips and do fun things, right?
A lot healthier.
Way healthier. You can get them off their phone, get them off their gaming device, and now they're out doing something. Like just the other day, we went quadding with the kids. Not all the kids. We didn't have Seth, but all the other kids we had. And we went quadding, had a little hot dog roast at this little fire pit, and we were just visiting, chatting, and I just thought, I want to ask each of these kids, okay, if you could go anywhere, money was no object, where would you want to go? And now, granted, almost every one of those trips was different. I'm like, wow, I can't make you all happy because they're all so different. But it was neat to hear, oh, they want to go there, they want to go there, they want to do that, right? And so, yeah, so family trips to me are one of the most amazing ways to build family relationships.
Yes.
And even themed family nights. I did this with my kids too when they were small. One Valentine's Day, I was going to feel sorry for myself. Instead, I decided that, no, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. My kids and I are going to have a beautiful evening on Valentine's Day. Even if, well, I won't get into that. Doesn't matter. So it was just going to be my kids and I. We were going to have this beautiful time. So what I do, I said, Kate, kids, we're going to go get our fanciest clothes on. So like I put on my wedding dress. The kids put on all their fancy clothes. We put candles. I had wine glasses. Actually even let these little tiny kids drink out of wine glasses. Had apple juice in their wine glasses. Just had set the table nice. The meal was nothing crazy. Spaghetti, right? The spaghetti meat sauce, nothing wild. But it was the memory. It was the memory. The kids just squealed. They were so excited. And it was like such a fantastic time. And so I took something that could have made me be sour and grumpy and be short with my kids, and I turned it into this most beautiful experience that I still talk about. And I'm pretty sure if you ask them, they probably still remember too. So that's another thing, is really themed, like do something fun and have even if you could have a week night or a weekend day or something where it's just devoted to the kids. There's no games, like video games. There's no devices, not even ours. We as parents have to show the example. We have to put our phones away too and go do something, right? Just go do something and be really present. That is huge.
Yes, your attention has to be fully on them and
yes,
and your situation or your time out.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing is that I did with my kids too was one-on-one date nights. So, or not even date nights, but like I would take them, only one kid and me, and we would go do one thing that kid really liked to do. And the other kids would, whatever, be at home or with the babysitter or with their dad or whoever, and I would take one kid. And then we'd go out and that is really awesome too, because when you can just devote all your time to that one instead of a whole bunch if you have more than one child or grandchild. So these are all things, but what is the common denominator in all of these things? Honey, what do you see? What needs to happen? Time and money, right?
Time and money.
Like we need time to do these things and we need money to do these things. And so that's...
Money's always very handy to have.
And money is always, yes. It is one of those necessities, unfortunately. And so that is something that, like I mentioned earlier, if this is something that you want to have more of, you want to have more time and you want to have more money, then go check our show notes and go check out that proven blueprint that could give you both. Absolutely. Now, you won't probably hear us talk a lot about actual money figures on this podcast because money itself does not motivate me. And I don't really enjoy talking about actual figures, like how much money. But what I do love talking about is the success stories and the things that can happen because of money.
Yes.
And so that's what you will hear. But I just want you to know that, like I mentioned earlier, that there are a lot of people making a lot of money with this blueprint. And so, so to us, it has been an amazing way to really, truly be present in all areas of our lives.
It's a special time that money can give you back.
That's right.
Right, and regain those experiences that you've missed or never had the opportunity to have before until you had this time and money freedom.
Absolutely. All right, my friend, you have a fantastic day, and we will see you again next week. Take care, and God bless.
God bless.
Have you been blessed by this episode? Has it touched you or inspired you or taught you something? If so, would you take 30 seconds, and write a written review? Not only does it warm our heart to hear from you, but it also lets us know that we're giving you what you need. And it also helps other people find the podcast that may need this kind of information as well. And remember, beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. Take care, my friend, and God bless.